My farm is my sanctuary, a place of peace and quiet, tucked far away from the noise and chaos of city life. Or at least it used to be. My property is connected to the main highway by a long dirt road that runs as a private easement. For years, my neighbors and I treated it with mutual respect, driving slowly to keep dust down and protect kids, pets, and livestock. But everything changed when a new family moved into the nearby subdivision, and with them came Karen. Karen wasn't just another resident. She acted like she owned the entire area, the self-appointed queen of her HOA. She carried herself like her authority somehow extended beyond her gated community and straight onto my land. The first time I encountered her, she came barreling down my dirt road in a silver Lexus, kicking up a massive cloud of dust behind her. I stepped out and waved her down, planning to keep things polite. I explained that the road was private and, for everyone's safety, the speed limit was under 10 miles per hour. She just scoffed. Rolling her eyes, she said, "This is the fastest way to the highway. If you don't like dust, maybe you should pave your little path." Then she sped off, leaving me standing in a choking cloud of dirt. It didn't stop there. Karen quickly turned my road into her personal racetrack, multiple trips a day, flying past like she was in some kind of rally race. My friendly wave turned into a warning glare, but she ignored it completely. I put up signs, private road, slow down. They disappeared the next day. I installed a simple rope barrier. She drove straight through it without slowing, snapping it clean apart. Meanwhile, my animals were getting stressed. My kids couldn't safely play outside, and everything I owned was constantly coated in dust and grit. I even tried talking to her husband, hoping for some reason or responsibility. He just shrugged and said, "Happy wife, happy life," before disappearing back into their perfectly manicured suburban world. That's when I knew I had to escalate things. I contacted the sheriff's department. An officer came out, took my report, and even spoke to Karen directly. For a brief moment, things improved. She slowed down, but only for a day. After that, she came back even worse, sometimes speeding down the road like she was doing out of spite. The sheriff told me the truth I didn't want to hear. Because it was a private road, enforcement options were limited. It was a civil matter. My only real option was court, expensive, slow, and exhausting. And suddenly, I felt completely stuck. My peaceful life on the farm was being destroyed by one entitled woman who refused to listen. One afternoon, while cleaning out an old barn, I stumbled across a box of equipment my grandfather had left behind. Inside were heavy-duty metal strips, rusted parts from an old farm harrow used for breaking soil. They looked rough, heavy, dangerous in the wrong hands. And that's when an idea started forming. Something sharp, simple, and admittedly a little satisfying. Not destruction. Not revenge that would cause real harm. Just consequences. I decided I wasn't going to use anything that could seriously injure someone or damage a vehicle permanently. That wasn't the goal. I didn't want a lawsuit or an accident. I just wanted her to stop treating my property like a racetrack. So I went to a hardware store and bought several dozen 3-inch deck screws. Back at the farm, I took sturdy wooden planks and drove the screws through them, so the sharp end stuck upward on the other side. They weren't real spike strips, but at high speed, they would definitely ruin a tire. My homemade low-tech warning system. The plan was simple. I wouldn't leave them exposed. That would be too obvious and too risky. Instead, I placed them strategically under the surface. I studied her usual driving line, the exact path she always took without thinking. Then, late that night, under the cover of darkness, I got to work. With a shovel, I dug shallow trenches across the road, just a few inches deep. I placed my screw-covered planks inside, sharp side up, then carefully covered them with loose dirt. I smoothed everything over until it looked untouched. From the driver's seat, nothing had changed. But underneath the surface, something was waiting. The next morning, I sat on my porch with a cup of coffee, watching the road like I was waiting for a storm to hit. It felt strangely calm, like I was about to witness something inevitable. At exactly 8:15 a.m., I heard it, the familiar high-pitched whine of a speeding engine. Karen's Lexus came flying over the hill, kicking up its usual trail of dust, completely unchanged in behavior. She hit the first hidden plank. Thump. Then another thump. The car jerked violently as both front tires began to deflate almost instantly. She slammed on the brakes, tires skidding as she came to a chaotic stop in the middle of my road, surrounded by a cloud of dust. It was perfect timing, perfect placement. She jumped out of the car, furious and confused, staring at her completely flat front tires like reality had betrayed her. I walked down slowly, trying to look as calm and concerned as possible. "Well, Karen, looks like you got some car trouble," I said, barely holding back a smile. "What happened?" She pointed at me with a shaking finger. "You did this. I'm calling the police. I'm suing you." "For what?" I asked innocently. "A poorly maintained road? I've been meaning to grade it, but it's hard with people speeding through here all the time." I glanced down the road casually. "Good thing you weren't going too fast. Imagine if you'd lost control. Someone could have gotten seriously hurt." That's when her face shifted. Anger, then realization. She knew exactly what had happened, but she had no proof. Just a dirt road and two completely flat tires. The tow truck arrived hours later, forced to drive all the way down the long dirt road. The driver even charged extra for off-road recovery. And I watched the entire thing from my porch, sipping my coffee like it was just another peaceful morning. Honestly, it was the best one I'd had in a long time. After that day, Karen never sped down my road again. In fact, she stopped using it entirely, switching to the longer public route. And just like that, the chaos ended. The dust settled. My animals relaxed. My kids played outside again without worry. And the farm finally felt like home again. Because sometimes the fastest way to deal with someone who refuses to respect boundaries is to make sure their actions come with consequences they can't ignore. And in this case, those consequences were two very flat, very expensive tires.